Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. It's Friday, it's 5pm, and I think it's safe to say that in terms of busy weeks in the world of beer, we might be finishing with a bang for 2024. It's all going on.
Mate, it's kicking off all kinds of stuff, budgetary things, football things,
All
kinds of things, Johnny. Slowdowns, busts, everything's happening, Johnny. I'm not sure it's all that good, but things are happening.
You're starting to sound like that Red Hot Chili Peppers song where he just shouts stuff over that. Bow, bow,
is that all of them?
Slow down.
Oh, I know the one.
Busts.
I know.
Yeah. But by the way,
don't compare me to Kiedis.
Hey, I think they're unfairly maligned, but I'm not going to spend the short time we have together this week. Well, we've actually had loads of time together, but on this podcast, trying to defend a bang average band. Right, so yeah, we've got lots and lots of news to get through, and of course, we should start with the epic trip that we had this week, which was down to the beautiful estuary side town of Faversham.
I bloody love Faversham. It's a very, very special, beautiful little cobbled street town, close to my heart. Found out that at one point in history, it had the biggest cinema screen in Europe, which is pretty interesting. Ooh. Good little factoid.
Yeah, you got to wonder why that ended up there.
Don't know. I think that just speaks to the wealth that it had at certain points in history. But yeah, it's had the biggest screen in Europe, supposedly. That's what I've been told by a local.
I like the idea that if you were very wealthy, because it made a lot of gunpowder and cement, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
That you would be like, well, what do we spend all this extra cash on?
Big screen
we'll
TV.
Get the biggest, it's a big screen TV.
It's the equivalent of buying a giant flat screen TV, but like 100 years ago. It's a real
and for the city
town. Actually, sounds quite nice when you put it like that, doesn't it? It's less selfish.
I guess so. I wish the millionaires were more selfless these days. I wish there were flat screen TVs for all of us.
Exactly.
Although, you can't get non-flat screen TVs now. It's amazing how when like right-wing people go mad at people on benefits and go, "Oh, they've still got the flat screen TVs," and you're like, "Well, they can't get curvy ones now. What do you expect them to buy?"
Did you know I've got a collection of CRT monitors? Have we talked about this?
I didn't need to know. I just assumed it.
I don't even know how many old school TVs I've got. So I've found a guy that I might get to recondition a couple of them because I've got a couple of really special ones. Brion Vega is like this Italian space age designer company. I've got a Brion Vega Algol, Johnny, in the permanent collection of the MoMA in New York. I've got 2 Brion Vega Donnies. That's quite impressive.
Again, you're just making up words.
And then I've also got a penchant for Thompson Life TVs, so I've got a couple of those. I've actually got 3 of them, and only one of them works. They're like in lofts and secreted around and stuff.
I'm in this cramped studio that is full. Honestly,
my house is full.
In my eye view, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 boxes of craft beer channel stuff clogging up my studio. Yeah. And you're telling me you've got more than that in TVs that aren't making any money?
Well, they're up in the loft. They're all over the place, basically. But a lot of them don't work And I didn't add that a lot of them are 10-inch or 9-inch screens because I really like small CRT TVs, Johnny. It's a
Okay.
niche I've got going on, and I've got a broad. I think what started it off was I had a broadcast monitor where I used to work in television, and when I was cutting together TV title sequences in my old life and animating TV graphics, I used to use a tiny little, I think it was an 8-inch monitor, Sony one, and it had a beautiful picture on it. I absolutely loved it. And as a child, I also loved having a TV in my bedroom. It was the best thing ever. I used to watch Open University at night, stay up and watch X-Files and not tell anyone. Bloody loved it. It's fantastic.
You're gonna tell the best old man stories. Like I don't know where the crowds of children will come from, but I am envisioning like Abe Simpson with the I had an onion on my belt at the time. It was the style at the time. That's
Yeah.
I mean, you're already doing it. Anyway, let's move on from the screens and get back to Faversham, where we were visiting the oldest brewery in the UK, with definitely as old as 1698, probably at least 150 years older than that, and with links to an abbey that was brewing in the 1100s.
So it's
and also the biggest independent brewery in the UK, and that's Shepherd Neame.
Not a bad kind of stats there. If it was a top trumps playing card, right? Of breweries, pretty good.
You keep coming back to this idea. It's not going to happen.
Come on, we're going to do it. It's oldest, Johnny. It's biggest independent. And then it also has the IP whatever rating. PGI. Sorry, I've said it wrong. Sounds too
protected geographical.
PGA Tour. Golf.
People might not know this. Like, it's not something that I think we've ever talked about. But so in the same way that, say, Kolsch or Munich Helles is protected, it can only come from a certain location and be produced in a certain way. The UK has one of those, and it's Kentish ale, and it can only be made by Shepherd Neame because it has to come from the chalk well that they have on their site. And then there's other sort of designations in it. I won't spoil it. You'll watch the video in a couple of months. But people don't realise, and they don't treasure the fact that we have a PGI protected beer style made in the Garden of England.
It's pretty good, isn't it? It's like an Italian cheese or something, isn't it? It really is that. It's that kind of higher rating of a kind of provenance. It's something to be proud of, and I think Shepherd Neame don't really shout about it too much. They're not really shouty, are they? So it's
no, they keep it pretty quiet. It's just a little what do you call it? A roundel on their bottles. And that's kind of about it, really. They don't talk about it enough because it's very, very cool. I mean, I wonder if that's because it might bring questions of like, well, share the water then, which is obviously the hardest, because otherwise it just has to be sort of essentially Kent hop yards from within 10 miles of that well and sort of style stipulations. So yeah, the well water's the sticking point if anybody else wanted to do it. But yeah, it is absolutely incredible and feeds into this fact that Shepherd Neame have for 300 years, more than 300 years, been fighting the good fight, protecting cask ale, brewing beautiful English inspired beers that taste of the land that they're from and reflect the culture that built it, and also sort of kept Faversham, which has had its highs and lows, if not literally on the map, kind of metaphorically on the map, because it's a brewing town now. That's kind of what it's known for.
It is, and as you walk around the cobbled streets, which are very charming, I must say, you're surrounded by fantastic little pubs, and new things like micro pubs and bottle shops and all kinds of crafty stuff as well, but you're kind of enveloped in the smell of wonderful smells of brewing.
Yeah,
every day,
constantly.
which is
the whole
amazing.
town smells of hop additions and mashes.
Fantastic.
And I'd argue that those places, even if they don't serve Shepherd Neame, probably wouldn't exist if it weren't for the influence of Shepherd Neame, because it brings beer lovers to the town. And sadly, we didn't get to go to any of the sort of craftier places because they weren't open on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
which is a negative sign of the times.
It is, isn't it? If you can't keep your business open on a Tuesday, which is sadly, it's a lot of places these days. Pubs
Tuesday is
included.
booze day, don't they know?
I know. I don't know. Is it booze day? I'm not sure I drink that much
Well, it was
booze.
for us. We did. Four pubs.
Yeah, we did
I
do
think,
4
is that a
pubs.
crawl? I'm not quite sure.
I think anything over 2
Including the
is a
oldest
crawl,
town,
probably, isn't it?
oldest one in town. Okay. Oh right. So two's company, three's a crowd, and two's just changing location, and three's
Two's,
a beer
two's
crawl, pub
company,
crawl.
three's a crawl, I think, probably.
Right. Well, yeah. So we did it, and we went to the Bear,
Yeah.
which was
It
great.
was great.
And was it Late Red, which is a lovely UK Cascade hopped sort of red ale. And obviously we had lots of Master Brew, which is actually my favourite of their range, I think.
Yeah, it was very good.
I think that the yeast and the earthy, spicy hoppiness really works at that kind of ABV. And I think, that's probably because those are the kinds of ABVs that a lot of those beers used to be when that yeast was first sort of conceived, and ABVs have crept up a little bit, and now they're coming back down again. But yeah, really enjoyed Master Brew, and 1698, sort of the big Kentish ale that they make as well, was delicious, and the IPA. In fact, I really enjoyed the bottled beers and the Master Brew. I thought were in particular wonderful, and the incredibly carbonated saison.
Yes, it was a lively one for sure.
Was a nice. Yes, they've got like a really very impressive, what they call sort of a small batch kit, but is bigger than most craft breweries kits, where they're starting to make some exciting stuff. We had a nitro stout, we had a saison, they had it was going to be 2.7% table beer in tank, and hopefully they're going to be ramping that up, because the chap that was running it, Rupert, clearly has the chops for some exciting beers from all over the world, not just delicious UK cask ale. But so yeah, we were down there. We have made a documentary all about Shepherd Neame itself, but we were there filming another episode of Keep Cask Alive, which is actually mostly about Shepherd Neame's pubs and the impact of brewing and pub culture on British society, which will all be part of the pitch towards UNESCO. So we're going to be in a couple of weeks doing another pub crawl of London, visiting some Shepherd Neame pubs and some other pubs that have had incredible impact on British culture, whether that's the Division Bell in the Westminster Arms, or the original coffee house being a pub, or lots of other very exciting pubs that we're going to be able to film in. And that was all sponsored by and enabled by the wonderful folks at Shepherd Neame. Big shout out to Rose, who looked after us very well for 2 days.
Yeah, she was great. Absolutely fantastic.
And we're a pain. I'd say generally about 12 hours in, people are sick of us, but she had 48 to deal with.
Yeah. And managed to fit in panto rehearsals as well. After.
Yeah. And of course, so we talked at the start of this podcast about how everything was kicking off this week. So we arrived to the news that Shepherd Neame was being audited. Its health and not health and safety. Its hygiene was being audited, like a surprise visit. So the brewers were having to deal with that. And then, of course, while we were there, we also had the budget announced, which was of keen interest certainly to a brewery the size of Shepherd Neame, but I guess to everybody really. And so they had sort of that to deal with as well. And we were interviewing Jonathan Neame, the 5th generation owner of the brewery, literally hours before a budget that he probably wouldn't have been delighted by, but I think it could have been worse for the industry.
Yes.
It was a real, much like the fate of Faversham, a real up and down tale of some really great things, including, probably not so great for Shepherd Neame, but a review possibly of the beer tie. If you're not aware, more than small independent craft brewers can literally only sell to about half of the UK's pubs, because the rest are tied up by either pub estates such as Shepherd Neame's, Fuller's, Heineken's, or indeed by people like Heineken coming in and essentially buying the taps up in pubs. So the main barrier to growth in craft beer is not the price, it's not the cost, it's not the fact that people don't want to drink craft, it's the fact that they literally cannot sell to about half of their market. So that's finally going to be reviewed. But we've heard these rumblings before, most recently in about 2014, I think. The end of the beer tie was declared, and then it definitely didn't end. So we'll take that one with a pinch of salt. But the government was, as always, trying to claim that they were saving 1p on a pint with their duty freeze or their duty drop of 1p. I can't quite remember. Either way, it's entirely irrelevant. Your pint's not going to go down by 1 penny. Just everybody in that chain might make a quarter of a penny more because they won't put the prices down. So it's not really that interesting news, especially for a craft brewery that maybe only makes 1,000 pints in a batch.
Yeah.
And then small businesses I think got some support, but also had things taken away from them in other ways. So I think people are still trying to work out what happened, really. And both Zebra and Camera put out statements being like, well, which was, really cleared things up. Thanks, Zebra and Camera, sort of hedging their bets, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not going to pretend I know too much about what's happened because I haven't had a chance to deep dive into that yet. But
well, I mean, the headline would be, and this is good news, whichever way you look at it, is
tie.
Because I'm taking that with a pinch of salt. It's that there's further duty relief on draft beer.
Okay, that's good.
So that's great in the battle against supermarkets and the battle to try and get people to support their pubs because, frankly, it's quite unaffordable right now. So a little bit of a drop in the ocean, but definitely the right direction in regards to that. So if you don't want to dig into the detail, just walk away with that nice nugget.
Lovely. Should we have some more beer news, Johnny? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we've got some really exciting news, Johnny. I'm not sure it is really exciting.
Oh my goodness.
Beer we go. Great Britain's oldest British lager brewery, bought by A-list Hollywood celebs. I think this is a bit dubious, right? But the guys from Wrexham FC program, which I haven't watched, so I don't like football, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, who I like both of those guys because I really love It's Always Sunny. And Ryan Reynolds is cool. He's a funny, cool guy. I know he's your style icon.
Well, he's my wife's style icon, and she makes me dress like him, yeah.
Just claim it as your own, Johnny. It sounds less sort of put upon. But they've part bought something which is called Wrexham Lager Beer Co. Limited. It claims to be Britain's oldest lager brewery, having been founded in 1882. But it hasn't been a sort of going brand for the whole length of time, and it did actually
not by a long shot
close its doors, according to Wikipedia. The brewery closed in the year 2000, and I'm sure it wasn't a constant run from 1882 to 2000. But interestingly, it was in 1881 a brewery that was set up by German immigrants in the centre of Wrexham. So a little bit like this week's
feeding
video.
into this week's video. Yeah. So I mean, it's quite interesting news because I've watched and really enjoyed that series. You don't have to love football to love the series. It's very much about the town and the people and its history, and also the utter insanity of two genuine A-list celebrities rocking up in a small city in North Wales. But I was thinking, obviously I look at the world through the lens of beer generally, and I was like, why aren't they doing anything on Wrexham Lager? Because they sponsor a stand at the stadium. They are probably the best known Wrexham business, I would say, other than the football club. And I was a little bit baffled as to why they'd done all these lovely stories on other locals and other local businesses and not touched the brewery. And now I'm starting to think it's because they didn't want the brewery to have wild success until they'd bought it, because otherwise that would have inflated the price. I'm trying to think of why this news sort of came out of nowhere when it was a very obvious thing to talk about and do. So it is cool. I mean, Wrexham Brewery has a great heritage. I think it was the only lager that was served on the Titanic.
Wow.
Mostly they did export and shipping and cruise lines and stuff like this. But speaking to some of my older beer writing friends, the beer has always been awful. I don't know whether that includes what it was like after it reopened.
Right.
So I haven't had a Wrexham lager of late.
Shit.
But I hope that it's good. I hope it's a success. I hope it brings more prosperity to Wrexham, and I'm excited to see, hopefully in the next series, some talk about beer.
Dude, I'm now picturing Leo DiCaprio on the sinking Titanic, and Rose or whatever her name was won't let him on the whatever that was she's floating on, and he's going down with the ship, and he's like reaching for it. He's a working class man, He's got no need of champagne or caviar or any other fine dining. He just wants a crispy lager. And then his only choice is the Wrexham lager, which you say is historically maybe not great.
I reckon the reason he couldn't fit on the door is because Rose has got a case of Wrexham lager on there, and she's like, "Beer is food, mate. If I'm going to survive this, I need my Wrexham lager."
Liquid food.
Liquid bread,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's cool news. It's exciting news, and it's a good TV show. Hey Beer Geeks, Johnny here. Just in case I haven't mentioned it enough on the podcast, approached you in the street, or accosted you in your own home, I thought I'd make a quick advert about my new book, The Meaning of Beer. This travel book follows me on a 3-year adventure around the world to discover the surprising ways in which beer has helped build and shape the world. From inspiring the pyramids to funding monasticism, from inventing the fridge to changing modern medicine, and from lubricating the Nazi Party's first meeting to potentially solving climate change, with lots more in between. It's already been called enlightening by the amazing Ollie Smith and one of the most important books ever written about beer by fellow beer writer Mark Dredge, and it's available for pre-order now in hardback, ebook and audiobook for its release on the 7th of November 2024. Now back to the pod.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched it. You're saying I could watch it having not liking football whatsoever. I mean, I like those guys, so maybe I should give it a go.
I mean, let's be honest, they didn't know much about football going in. I'm not sure they particularly loved it either.
Why did they buy it then? What's the point? Why have they bought it? Why? What's the link to Wales and everything?
Okay, I don't know whether I can tell this story. Okay. I actually have some genuine insight here.
Okay.
Let me think about this. I think I can, because it's unverified. So if somebody comes at me, I can just be like, "Oh, I heard it from someone else." And basically, from what I can tell, what happened was, so Rob McElhenney is a huge sports fan, but mostly, obviously American sports, American football.
Yeah.
And he watched the documentary Sunderland Till I Die, which is, again, an absolutely stunning documentary about Sunderland Football Club. And I think he was like, I want to make something like that.
Yes.
And he spoke to his friend, Humphrey Kerr, who's also in there. He's a comedy writer, comedian. He was in the Penny Dreadfuls, who actually some of my friends have done comedy stuff with. And he was sort of charged with finding like a sports club that could do this also in the UK.
Mm.
So it was like basically Rob McElhenney watched this program, absolutely loved it, and thought, I want to do something like that as like a personal pet project. And then I think maybe Humphrey Kerr knew Ryan Reynolds or roped him in, or so, I can't quite remember that bit. I was drunk when this person was telling me. But basically, is Rob McElhenney wanting to make a Sunderland Till I Die, but with him in it.
That's cool. I mean, I really respect him as a screenwriter, as a comedian, as an actor. I think he's very good. He plays Mac in It's Always Sunny, and he writes It's Always Sunny. And anyone who watches it knows Mac is like, actually, I can't even say he's the best. He's not even. You got I mean, they're all the best. They're all the best. Dennis, D, Sweet D. They're all bloody amazing in it, to be honest.
They just list the characters.
They're
It's
all,
Always
they're
Sunny.
all, even the people like the McPoyles are wonderful.
I think people know, isn't it now the most successful American sitcom of all time, like in terms of number of episodes?
I mean, it's really long running.
Beyond massive.
It's super long running, and I've watched all of them several times. I absolutely love it. It's fucking brilliant. There's 170 episodes of It's Always Sunny, which is pretty amazing. I don't know how many the American Office has. That's got fuckloads as well.
Oh, no, that wouldn't have anywhere near. I was thinking more like Cheers or something.
Oh, yeah.
Millions and millions.
Yeah,
I don't think the American Office had that many.
Had quite a lot.
Anyway.
Maybe not that many.
Anyway, so that is, I think it could be quite cool news. And I think it's also good for the beer industry. And it's also an interesting indication of, well, not an indication because they bought it because it's Wrexham Lager, but it's feeding into this slow rise of lager as a more artisan product, which even the big guys by, basically plucking Madry out of the air and trying to say, when people drink lager now, they want to think it's going to be a good lager. It's not like cheap fizz that gets me drunk. It's increasingly, I want to have an experience. And even if the experience is as shit as Madry, they still feel a little bit special doing it. And it's going to help that. I think it's going to, if not give a boost to small independent lager producers around the UK, it's certainly going to create a discussion around, if they do an episode on it, it's going to be around what makes good lager, why is beer important, all of these things that could, really, really help us get Pilsners and Hellers into the mainstream. I'm just thinking, I was literally just thinking, going off into my own world there, thinking I should send a book to Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney and go like, hey, if you want to talk about the importance of beer in industrial Britain, I've just released a book about how beer is important in industrial Britain.
There you go. Good book plug, Johnny. I was waiting how long it'd be.
This could be my way in. I'll be the fourth cast member of I can't remember the name of the TV show, so this picture's all gone wrong. The Wrexham
It's
TV
Always
show.
Sunny in Wrexham.
Lord. No, not quite.
Just before we move on, Johnny, I got a stat for you there. 177 episodes of It's Always Sunny. 201 episodes of The Office.
Was it?
Yeah.
Blimey.
125 episodes of Parks and Recreation. 84 episodes of Arrested Development.
What are we doing with this list?
Nothing.
It seems to be going down. I want to go up.
Yeah. I want to
know the longest.
Okay.
Giving it some context.
Yeah, just giving you a bit of context there. 201. That's a lot, isn't it? American Office. There you go.
Yeah, I can't have watched them all. I thought I had, but I can't have.
They're all brilliant.
It's not possible.
Absolutely great.
Right. The other thing we should talk about is less good news, is the fact that Gypsy Hill, a brewery that a good few years ago we used to do quite a lot of work with, and in fact we brewed the second ever New England IPA in the UK, commercial New England IPA, I should say.
Drifter.
At Gypsy Hill with them, Drifter.
Yeah, man.
And sadly, it looks like they were about to go out of business, and they were bought essentially by Curious Brew.
Wow. Okay.
Who also already own Wild and someone else, I think, in that portfolio now. But it's a real loss for South London.
Yep.
If things really change, hopefully they won't. But I think it is the best of a bad situation. Gypsy Hill, Sam, who owned it, he was aggressive and he was ambitious, and I wouldn't say cutthroat, but he was gunning for it, and he was probably gunning for a sale eventually, and things clearly haven't panned out. As soon as you stop growing organically and really push things, you open yourself up to, things starting to fall apart. And clearly that's what was happening. So hopefully lots of jobs have been saved, and hopefully lots of good beer will remain in the places that the salespeople did good work getting it into. But it's just a reminder that, sure, millionaires like Jeremy Clarkson and Ryan Reynolds can buy into this industry and make a great success of brands, but if you don't have that firepower, it's incredibly tough out there.
Yeah.
For all concerned.
That's sad news.
So let's talk about this week's video, in which we address the history of the biggest beer brand in America.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the history of Budweiser. Thank you to all the people that, I've researched this topic for 3 years, written a book, then we made a very in-depth video, and then lots of people went, beer's still shite. You're like, yeah. I know.
Yeah, agreed.
Be good to engage on the rest of the video, folks. But yes, this was our history of Budweiser and how it has helped build essentially what we know as American culture, because it built a lot of its sport, a lot of its TV, a lot of its TV advertising, and indeed it built the bars, and it built the pubs, and it built the restaurants, and it created, I think, to some extent, that notion of the American dream, whether you're a recent immigrant or an old immigrant, because they're all immigrants, sort of, starting from nothing, building something special and giving it to your kids. And if anybody did that, it was old Adolphus Busch, good Lord.
Mm.
He gave a lot to his kids.
Sure did, right?
He sure did, yeah. So often when we do videos about this, or when we visit places, we get a little bit more charmed and in love with the brewery. Did Did that happen as you supped on your slightly insipid Budweiser?
Well, I was just trying to think back. I think I hardly partook of the Budweiser.
Yeah, nor me.
I just
At the brewery, it tasted good, unfiltered,
Yeah.
unpasteurized, bang fresh. It was quite tasty. But yeah, that bottle reminded me that it's not something I'm going to reach for again.
I'm scrubbing through the video. I'm not seeing it go down at all. I think at one point you said taste it, and I had a little sniff. So in answer to your question, what was the question? Did I enjoy the beer, or do I have a respect for Budweiser brewing?
Yeah, a bit more respect for
Yeah,
Budweiser.
100%. Like, amazing. What a dynasty they've got. The brand, I love the brand. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, I've ripped it off on a t-shirt, and I'd like to do a hat. Kind of subverting it a little bit. It's available on our merch store.
Unless you're a lawyer, in which case it's not available on our merch store.
And it's nothing to do with Budweiser either. It's just a totally unique.
No, Brad was joking.
But I do think it's an amazing thing to have preserved. Like, we've just been Shepherd oldest in the UK, and for you to have gone out to Budweiser in St. Louis and actually see that it's like a cathedral to beer, right? It looks absolutely ridiculous. The scale of it, the grandeur.
Yeah, I sort of see it as more like a Scientology to beer.
Yeah.
It's too polished. It's too clean.
Yeah.
There's too many locked doors. You don't know what's really happening.
But it looks absolutely, like you say, spotless, whatever. But the fact there's gold chandeliers and incredible painted walls, like in a brewery, is just fascinating and I think awe-inspiring. I don't think we'll ever have a time in human society again where we hold the architecture of a brewery in such high regard that it looks like a place of worship, or I would say like an incredible train station or something like that, like a public space where cities are proud to, have people going through them, walking through them, and just being in awe of being in somewhere and what happens in that place. So yeah, it's kind of mad that the beer they make tastes how it does. But I mean, it's beautiful.
Well, I mean, they've only responded to the market,
True.
haven't they?
True.
To be fair, they've gone with what people have wanted, and people have then started to assume that that's what beer tastes like, and that's how we ended up in the mess that we kind of did. But just on that point, it was built to be a public space. It was German immigrants, I think, staking their claim and saying, yes, we are German, but also saying, yes, we are American. And that was why you get the Lady America and is it Lady Germany? I can't quite remember. The artworks in the brew house, and you get that incredible architecture and the internal sort of decor. You'd never get that now because brewing has commercialized to the point where it is a purely industrial endeavor. And you also didn't really get it outside of, I think, Germany. Germany was another place where the breweries and obviously the beer halls, but the breweries themselves were seen as sort of, if not owned by the public, like revered by the public. And I don't know whether it's quite the same in the UK. It's rare to go to a historic brewery. Like Shepherd Neame was clearly never built to be seen by the general public. Whereas Budweiser, the brewery in St. Louis, was 100% built to be seen by the public. And, like we said in the video, when Prohibition was repealed, thousands of people came to the gates to buy beer. It was where they went when it was repealed. So there seems to be I think the Americans, the Germans, and the Czechs were way, way better at putting beer at the heart of their culture than the Brits were. The Brits put the pub at the heart of their culture, and the pub is where they, reverential, and that's one step removed from the beer, but the beer was still obviously the most important part of it. So it's a slightly different kind of social approach to it, and it means that our pubs are beautiful and have remained, and in America their breweries were beautiful and have remained.
Yeah, really interesting point.
Did you find some delicious comments?
There were a lot of people that were not into drinking Budweiser.
I got really worried. The video did not take off for like the first hour.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people saw what it was and went, "Oh, I'm not clicking that." But it has since caught up and is doing perfectly well.
Yes.
But it was, I think there was definitely a little bit of reticence from our viewers to talk about Budweiser. But I hope they do go back and watch it because it's genuinely, I think, fascinating history.
Yeah, exactly. Daiki Tbilisi said Budweiser got me into drinking craft beer. After a couple of years of drinking a mix of Bud and Galahad, an Aldi Carling ripoff, my friends and I were bored of how stale they tasted compared to real ales that our dads were drinking. We ended up pooling some money and buying the likes of Brooklyn Lager, 6 Points Bengali, and probably something like OG Punk IPA. The rest is history. Thanks, Bud. So I think he's saying, thanks, Budweiser, Bud, not us.
Bad beer got me into good beer.
Yeah, that's quite good, isn't it? That's a good thing Budweiser does too. You can, if you ever try, say you're at a party and someone's put a communal ice bucket of beers, you might be drinking a Budweiser and then you might pick out something craft and drink it directly after drinking a Bud and go, holy crap. What the hell's this? This is amazing.
Be like, oh, that's much better.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
maybe
that could well be the trajectory of a lot of people, I would say. So I found that comment quite relatable. I never liked Bud, to be honest. I've never liked Bud. Love the branding. I'd love a Budweiser towel. I'd love a Budweiser t-shirt. I'd like all kinds of Budweiser things, Johnny, but I don't really want a Budweiser beer. It's a brand that's gone beyond the product for me. It's like I love Coca-Cola as well. The branding is beautiful, amazing. Love it. Collect Coca-Cola stuff, like a weirdo, and I do actually quite enjoy drinking the Coke as we.
I was going to say you drink plenty of Coke.
We went Coke for Coke while we were at Faversham with all the sweating and the filming. We both had a couple of Cokes a day going on.
Yeah, well, that's because I don't trust pub coffees.
That's a good.
So if I need a caffeine hit, I go for Coke, not pub coffee.
Our wonderful host, did you notice they had a Coke and a coffee?
I did, yeah. Well, that's just it. We're that tiring. We're that tiresome.
Same sitting. I was watching.
She
thinking,
needed double caffeine.
Holy shit, we must be boring.
Yeah.
I
got a great comment here from Otto. Oh God, Otto Strawanzinger. Who said 2 interesting details about Anheuser-Busch. Budweiser wasn't the only brand where they used a Bohemian place name. The Michelob brand is named after the town of Michelob, or Michelopy in Czech, where Anton Dreher owned a brewery. Their beer was available in the US. Another early brand they had was Libotshana, after the German name for modern-day Libotchany in Czechia. I think there's a pattern there. They simply use Bohemian town names known for their beer. So that would sort of back my assertion that it wasn't a particularly targeted thing. It was like, we'll pick the towns that have good reputations for beer. And yeah, Michelob, I've sort of tried to verify that. I'd need to dig a bit deeper, but yeah, it definitely does seem like Anton Dreher has had a brewery in Michelob, and that might be where that came from. So yeah, really interesting.
The second half of his comment was also interesting, I thought.
Yeah, I was getting there. He's saved the best for last. So, as for Budweiser, AB InBev actually bought the other older brewery in Budjovice, Bürgerliches Brauhaus Budweis, something like 10 to 15 years ago. So they legally would have had the right to brew and sell Budweiser in Europe from there. What did they do instead? They renamed the brand to Samson. AB InBev could have won that IP dispute through the loophole. Instead, they rebranded. I knew that was true. I didn't put it in the book. Essentially because in the book I don't actually dig into the IP dispute at all, really. Like, I reference it and I explain that might be a reason why Budvar was kept by the government, but I don't dig into it too much. I would say that I did, because I did do a lot of the research and considered putting it in. I'm not quite sure that's the right conclusion. Budweiser definitely bought the Bürgerliches Brauhaus to help them in the court case. but I don't think they could have then called anything that they brewed there, even if it was Budweiser itself, Budweiser. I don't think that is how the IP would have worked out. I think all it is another tool in their armory to say, no, we produce beer in Budweiser. I think if they started brewing Budweiser in that brewery, all hell would have broken loose legally.
Definitely.
So I think, there's lots of little plays that both of these breweries are doing. I remember we were sat there having lunch at the brewery after filming, and we were chatting about the IP dispute, and there wasn't a lot they could say because obviously in terms of sort of corporate warfare, it's very much under the radar. But they said, Budvar, the guys there, implied that they have lots of other moves, and it's a bit of a kind of game of chess.
Yeah.
Because if it was as simple as they just have to have a brewery in Budweiser, they could just build one. That would be cheaper than all the money they're spending on lawyers over the hundreds of years, 800 years that this has been going on.
I guess
I think there's more to it.
The reason to buy an older brewery though would be to go, we have an older claim than you guys in the town, right? Would that be the logic? But I mean, obviously naming it Samson.
Well, it's potentially true, but then they'd have to prove that the word Budweiser was being used as a branding exercise there, I guess.
Interesting.
So it's, yeah.
But surely it's a cat and mouse game, right? But like that buying it and then changing the name must have been to shit up the Czechs a bit, right? Just to real mess with them, just to go like, fuck you, we're going to buy this fucking brewery in your town that's older than the brewery.
I don't think the lawyers swear that much in their communications.
I reckon they do. But imagine that, right? Imagine being the other guys, Budvar, and seeing that happen and wondering what they're going to do with it. And then, they probably kept them waiting for a long time before they went, oh yeah, we're going to call it Samson. Don't worry. So it's all mind games, isn't it, Johnny? It's all mind games.
Very expensive mind games. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Budvar have been through a lot in their history. They're pretty resilient. Yeah. I'd imagine that they'd have gone, all right.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Try and call your beer Budweiser from there, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a dispute that's ever going to be resolved, to be honest. I can't see a way, 100 years down the line that somebody will sit there, like either a lawyer going, I found the thing that wins, or a judge just going, you know what, you're right. I think it will forever just be we have to call ourselves Bud in this part of the world, and you have to call yourself Czechvar in this part of the world kind of vibe. But hey, it could be wrong. I mean, if one of them, if Budvar ever sold or needed to be sold, AB InBev would probably swoop in hard. But there we go. Right. Any other comments? Any other thoughts on the video?
I did have one. I've bloody lost it now. Oh, yeah. Mark Lancaster. It still baffles me every day how such an unappetizing beer can have such a great influence. I guess he's talking about on society, on the world, on American culture.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm always cautious of dismissing other people's tastes. I think lots of people love that beer, and while it's not for us, I see why people enjoy light lager. And I used to be quite dismissive of people who enjoyed light lager, and now I've come to realise that we all look for different things in the things we consume, whether it's food, drink, TV, whatever it is. And if that's what you want, all power to you. And clearly, we are the minority. Let's make no bones about that. Most people don't drink beer wanting to have a flavour sensation. They drink beer because they want to relax, have it suit their food, and slip down really easily. And I can see why. It's a bit like why cheddar is the most popular cheese. Medium cheddar is incredibly inoffensive, makes a decent enough sandwich, and you move on with your life.
Come on, cheddar's pretty good. Don't knock cheddar. I think what you're saying, Johnny, is that whatever...
I mean block cheddar, as they call it dismissively in the industry. Yeah.
I think what you're trying to say is whatever you like is good. You can keep liking it. You're not hurting anyone. And, if you want to have a light beer, have a light beer. And if
Yeah,
you
I
want
mean,
to,
potentially with breweries like AB InBev, you might be hurting people because of their less than competitive business practices. But yeah,
you're saying, Brad, if you want to buy another CRT television from the 80s, 70s, 60s, you should totally do
maybe
it.
you do
That's what you're
you.
saying, right?
Just maybe take some of these boxes.
Yeah, nah. But yeah, I think that's
Right.
what you're saying. That's the message I'm
Yeah, it
taking
sounds
away
like
from
it,
it
doesn't
anyway.
it? Yeah. Well, I know that would be a wonderful place to leave the podcast. With people envisioning how this discussion about boxes and teeny tiny screens will continue offline. But I promised my good friend Andreas Krenmir, who is a wonderful researcher and writer, particularly in the history of Czech, Austrian, and German beer. And he helped me a lot with the book. And he is a listener to the podcast. Hi, Andreas. Thank you very much for your help with the book. He emailed us after last week's episode because if you remember, somebody put in the comments saying that Anton Dreher was the real hero.
Yes.
Of the story of sort of the Sadelmeyers and the Drehers and the invention of Märzen and Vienna lagers and eventually pale lager. And I was, I guess, fairly dismissive of that point of view from the research that I had done. But we got a great long. Unfortunately, I can't read the entire email from Andreas. It's very long. But I just wanted to read sort of his summary paragraph so that people would know that Johnny was slightly wrong and is going to definitely dig more into Anton Dreher as a person, because I think because he's not involved in the Fridge or the Carlsberg story, his story is slightly sidelined, but he had a huge impact on what was going on in Central Europe at that time. It's just the test of history hasn't quite been as kind to him. But so Andreas says, generally I would say that they're probably, this is talking about Sadelmeyer and Anton Dreher, generally I would say they probably complemented each other when it came to the knowledge and research they conducted. I think they saw themselves as equals, and the families in their breweries kept close ties even after the death of Anton Dreher Sr., which I think is also very noticeable to the whole history of the Linde refrigeration machine, because that whole thing was set up by August Diegelmeyer, who at the time worked at the Dreher brewery. So the sort of the historical thing that I've missed there is that although it was Carl von Linde although it was Sadelmeyer commissioning Linde to make it, the connection between those two people was actually set up by an employee of Dreher. Although Diegelmeyer was also the nephew of Sadelmeyer. So it's all a glorious mess of families and dynasties. I'm still thinking about writing a novel about the tangled webs and politics of Central European breweries.
I think a rock opera would be more appropriate, or potentially a pantomime.
No, I was thinking like Hilary Mantel, CJ Sansom vibes.
Nah, rock opera, mate.
No,
you want
okay, all right. Well, it's good to have feedback. Rock opera, okay. I'll have to find somebody to write the music.
What? You can write music? What are you on about?
I can't write a rock opera. If you want a sad acoustic song, I'll have a bash.
It's going to be a sad rock opera.
Sad rock opera.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure people are just gagging to go to a sad rock opera about the dynasties, the brewing dynasties.
We're going to get
of
Radiohead to write the music.
19th century.
Radiohead.
Yeah, Johnny Greenwood's not got much on his plate, does he?
Sigur Rós, maybe some Sigur Rós as well.
I could have a bash at some Sigur Rós music.
That'd be quite good.
Yeah. Anyway, right, so that's the end of the craft beer channel. I now write rock operas, and Brad is now solely a collector and distributor of screens too small to see shit on. But we will still be back next week with I haven't even told you this, Bradley. I've had to split the Carlsberg story in two.
Okay.
Because it was too long and I couldn't edit it down.
Yeah.
We knew it was too long as we were shooting it. But so now it's a two-parter. One is the story of Pasteur and one is the story of I was about to say Hans Christian Andersen. I keep doing that.
Yeah.
Emil, the guy that isolated yeast. Find out more in my book. So we've got a double biller of that coming.
Nice.
But Brad, you're off to America.
I'm off
so
to
there won't be
America
pods, unless I find a guest.
tomorrow morning, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, I'm off to San Fran. And then last night, Johnny and I booked for 3 nights, 4 days in Los Angeles. I'm staying in Hollywood, baby. And I'm gonna go and drink coffee in Pam's Coffee, the Quentin Tarantino coffee shop. And hopefully I'm going to go and sit in the seat that Lemmy used to sit in at, I think it was the Rainbow on the Sunset Strip, and maybe get a Jack and Coke in his honour and just do shit like that in LA. Maybe go and watch a movie in Man's Chinese Theatre, all that kind of stuff. Probably get a couple of beers when I'm out there. We'll see how we get on. But, you know, we'll see. But, yeah, I won't be here next week, but I'm sure you'll do a grand job, whoever you get in. Don't replace me, please. I'm only gone for a little while, and I will be back, hopefully.
Two weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Unless you're planning to move to LA. I might try and find a guest. My book's out next week. I should have said that. Please pre-order it. Please buy it. So maybe I'll try and find somebody that's helped with the book and have a good long chat with them about it.
Nice.
Maybe Mark Dredge or somebody like that.
Dredge, I like it.
If Mark's listening, you might be getting a text shortly. So, yeah, we won't have Brad next week, but there probably will still be a podcast, and obviously the Craft Beer Channel videos will keep on flowing. And there are, in fact, still some spaces. We have some dropouts from my book launch on the 6th of November at the Sutton Arms in Clerkenwell. So if you have last minute had your evening free up, do let me know, because we can probably squeeze you in. Otherwise, have a lovely weekend, folks, and we'll see you on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Love and beer. The Bubble and Friday 5 p.m. podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's Craft Beer Channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/The Craft Beer Channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food, and homebrewing. Love and beer.